What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. So there was a filing that was going around yesterday from Nintendo that has many people believing that they're about to finally make the move and bring a highly requested system to the Switch 2, and we'll take a look at all of that here today. Also, we are going to be talking about the live service sector once again. Just shock and awe at what some of these studios are doing and what they're showing up with. The latest one, I'm not even kidding, from Quantic Dream. And we'll also be talking about Microsoft as they kind of slipped into some recent marketing, how exactly they're judging success of the Xbox consoles. And we'll look at all of that and more. Guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure you hit that like button. Helps out a ton. And if you're new here to the Spawn Wave channel, make sure you subscribe down below. We're here every weekday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern time, going over all the different news in gaming. So if you're trying to keep up to date, hey, there'll be a video here for you every weekday morning to check in on, even if you don't get a notification. We're going to start today, though, with Battlefield 6, as we did get some initial sales data that's just flat out impressive. This we can see over on EA's website. They issued the press release saying, following a record-shattering open beta in August, Battlefield 6 now has the biggest opening ever in the storied Battlefield franchise. Battlefield 6 hit all-time highs for franchise sales during the first 3 days of launch, selling over 7 million copies and counting. They go on to say how many millions of matches are played, like all the usual puff piece numbers and stuff, but really the big one to focus in on, 7 million copies in 3 days. That is very impressive. I mean, think about it, we still have the holiday season coming up, and it'll sell, I'm sure, several million copies there. This being the biggest opening we've seen for Battlefield, and it makes sense. I think people, at least myself, getting tired of Call of Duty. And you see Battlefield come in, and it's not like these weird collaborations and it just kind of being tongue-in-cheek about everything. No, it's a game that's just, hey, you're gonna drop in, a bunch of people gonna be on the map, it's gonna be a military shooter, and you're just gonna blow a bunch of stuff up. And that's kind of it. And you know what? It's a lot of fun. I've been playing it here and there as I've had time, and it's like old school Battlefield. Closer, I guess, kind of more to the Battlefield 3 era, I would say. But it is fun. It is. So it doesn't shock me that it hit this kind of number, but it does also make you wonder, ooh, how's Activision feeling over there with Black Ops 7 coming up? With a lot of that kind of DLC and extra content after seeing what Battlefield's able to do now. Also, we've talked quite a bit about the Stop Killing Games initiative, with Ubisoft being pretty much the big example as to why we need to work to have some of these online requirement games, or games that require online connection, even if it should be able to play offline, why you should be able to play it without connecting the internet. Well, now it looks like Ubisoft is, well, taking this kind of seriously. We can see this. This is over on GameSpot, saying starting today, PC players can download an update from Ubisoft and enjoy The Crew 2 without an internet connection with hybrid mode. The console update for PlayStation 4 and Xbox One will be released later today, so they are both now available at the time of this recording. Players now have the option of picking either online or offline when starting up the game. So that's pretty cool. If it says that if players aren't connected to the internet, then The Crew 2 will just automatically switch to offline. And maybe that's just the way Ubisoft approaches these sorts of games going forward, so they don't have to double back and add that offline mode to it. So good stuff. It just means that, yeah, in the far future, if you want to play The Crew 2, there will at least be an offline mode available for it. Oh, and here's a fun collaboration with McDonald's and Street Fighter. This McDonald's in Japan, you can see the video that they released. This is over on X. And I mean, it blew up online, really, really did. And it shows the classic old school Street Fighter setup here with the McDonald's branding, and they have several new menu items that'll go along with Ryu, Ken, and Chun-Li, from a burnt garlic teriyaki egg and mayo burger all the way to Ken getting this triple cheeseburger. I think it's just a video, and it's just fun. You know, that's the thing. I know with like the Pokemon TCG stuff that gets brought up, and it gets annoying because adults go in and buy all this stuff and there's no more cards left. This is more just menu items and just flat out fun marketing. So I think I like that more at this point, but I'm also not like necessarily rushing out and buying the Pokemon trading cards or whatever toy collaborations they do. Be able to go in and get a triple cheeseburger knowing it's in the spirit of Ken for Street Fighter, that makes more sense. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start right away with Nintendo potentially bringing a long-requested system to Nintendo Switch Online, that being the DS. And there have been questions around how Nintendo would achieve this, because the DS was a very unique system with the dual-screen setup, But there are several ways they can do it. If nothing else, I mean, emulation on single screen systems have already shown how, but we can see this. This is over on My Nintendo News, saying a new patent seemingly shows how Nintendo DS games could work on Switch. They are citing Mike Odyssey, who took to his X account and just started posting images of this patent and sort of going over what we were looking at. Now, the front page of the patent here, we can see with the patent application publication, this is the first page of it, filed April 1st, 2025. Always a chance Nintendo is just playing a practical joke, I guess, but it was made public October 16th. And we can see under 54, it's one or more non-transitory computer-readable media, information processing system, information processing method, and information processing apparatus. And yes, if you go over the abstract and some of the images, I mean, they really have to hone in on the fine details for patents because it has to be extremely literal and extremely specific, or as we've discussed many times, it won't necessarily go through. But I kind of took a look at the patent and tried to break it down as best as possible to, I don't want to say layman's terms, but just not patent terms, okay? So from what I could see, it covers how one main device and one or more secondary devices share control inputs and visuals during gameplay or apps. So they even point out in this patent child systems or child apparatus, basically. And you have a parent system that runs the main software, so like the game. And then the child system receives a secondary image from the parent, like a map, you can say inventory, something like that. And it can send back their own inputs, like touch commands or controller actions. And yes, it sounds very much like the Wii U. And that's kind of what it is. But then they also go over how, for example, this would happen on the fly to allow a dual screen mode or go back to a single screen mode. That is all really broken down here. So if you connect a screen to it, the system will know, oh, I have a second screen that I can now send this map to, rather than have to restart the entire game. So that alone sounds like a whole thing to figure out, but that's the idea here with the patent, be able to jump back and forth between the different modes on the fly. Now, because of this, of course, the idea then springs into mind, oh, wait, this is how they would work out the DS and have two screens. The only thing with this is they don't necessarily need to go down this route, like this method, to have DS emulation work on the system. It would be cool because then you go, oh, okay, well, now I have two screens. I can close like a clamshell. Nintendo can sell a whole other accessory that'll probably be $150. I mean, think about how much the Virtual Boy is right now, that whole attachment. And it's like the plastics mostly. Now, think about if they sell you an entire separate screen with the plastics that would then attach and turn your Switch or Switch 2 into a DS. That wouldn't be cheap. No, I still think there's an accessory there for Nintendo to sell because I do believe the DS is going to make its way to the Switch and the Switch 2. Maybe the Switch 2. I feel like the Switch 1 can do it, emulation. It's like, does Nintendo want it to go there, or they're going to try to push you to the Switch 2, similar to what they've done with the GameCube, kind of. But either way, they bring it to NSO. You can either have the two screens work horizontally and they just split it down the middle, or the way that I think would be kind of cool if they allow you to just turn the system into portrait mode and you have some sort of grip, like there's the flip grip that the Switch has had for a while. Nintendo certainly could have something like that and even sell a stylus that would work on the touchscreen for the Switch. So it, like the accessories and stuff, it all makes sense. It all lines up. I just don't know if they want to lock DS behind a whole other screen, or having two Switches, or a Switch and the Switch 2. And also, if you've done like the game share stuff, it's not like the most tight-knit operation. There's a lot of things that seem to go wrong, even if the systems are right next to each other. So now introduce the idea of there being latency between the top screen and the bottom screen. It doesn't seem like the best experience. I think it makes more sense to go, okay, we'll draw a line down the middle of the screen, horizontally or vertically, and then you just have the two screens right there, and then it's already touched, so a stylus of some kind, and you're off and running. But yeah, I do believe DS will come to NSO at some point in the future. There's a massive library for Nintendo to pick from to continue throwing more and more games into a service that is still at $50 per year. I don't want to jinx it, but you get to a point where you wonder, okay, when is Nintendo going to make that move? Because even they'll look at it and be like, no, it's worth too much money. We got to move it up to, I don't know, like 60 or 70 bucks or something. But maybe DS is the thing, the straw that breaks the camel's back for the value proposition from Nintendo's angle. Next up, we have some very sad news as we had a legend pass away, or it was announced that he had passed away yesterday morning. And we can see this over on VGC. And they say Tomonobu Itagaki, the founder of Team Ninja and creator of the Dead or Alive series, has passed away at the age of 58. It seemed to pop up on his Facebook. There was a message that was written up by Itagaki, and then we had it translated. This was, again, VGC. It was entitled Last Words. Through the machine translation, it says, "The light of my life is finally fading. The fact that this message has been posted means that the time has finally come. I am no longer in this world. I'm asking a loved one to make this final post. My life has been a series of battles. I kept winning. I've caused a lot of trouble too. I'm proud to say that I followed my beliefs and fought to the end. I have no regrets. However, I'm filled with regret that I wasn't able to deliver a new work to all my fans. I'm sorry. That's just how it is. So it goes." And that is unfortunate. It's very sad. Maybe he had some idea for a game, or he was even working on one now. It's really hard to say at this time, obviously. But it's being filled with regret that he wasn't able to deliver a new work to all the fans. And I mentioned being a legend, I know people look at Itagaki specifically for Dead or Alive, and it makes sense. Dead or Alive, I get Dead or Alive being a franchise that he was there producing from the beginning in 1996. You look at his body of work here, a lot of producer and director roles. Dead or Alive 1, 2, 3, Extreme Beach Volleyball. Do you know what one has always stuck out to me? And it might be just because of that time period and stuff, but Ninja Gaiden on the original Xbox. 2004. Guys, I'm telling you, it was incredible stuff. Because look, we looked at Ninja Gaiden back on the NES days, this 2D hard as nails platforming action game, and being able to head the project here with Ninja Gaiden moving to the original Xbox. Not only that, but going to the original Xbox at that time with the PS2 running how it was, that was also a big move there. But Ninja Gaiden moving to 3D and having that level of quality was super impressive, and that game has always stuck with me. So yeah, seeing this, it was a sad day yesterday for Itagaki passing away. But let me know your favorite games from all the different titles and stuff that he's produced, directed, or worked on, whether it's Dead or Alive, Ninja Gaiden, or something else. Next up, let's talk about the live service sector that continues to get weirder and weirder. And the pull of the vast riches that can be made, I guess, is enough to even get Quantic Dreams to throw their hat in the ring. And it might be also another aspect to this where they were bought by NetEase in 2022. I saw a lot of other people mention this too. They're like, oh wait, NetEase, maybe they wanted this, but they were bought in 2022. And now here we are in 2025, 3 years later. And all of a sudden we get this blog post over on their website, where they say, after years as a single project studio, we also decided to take a new step. Multiple teams are fully dedicated to crafting the next generation of great games, including something very different, a competitive multiplayer experience born from the same spirit of curiosity and creativity that has always defined us. This new title may surprise our fans, and it's very different from what we have done so far, but taking risks, challenging ourselves, exploring new ways of playing and telling stories, and attempting what seems impossible has always been part of our DNA. Okay, Quantic Dream and competitive multiplayer experience. Now it's October 16th. It's not April 1st. Okay. Well, let's see what this looks like then, since they did put out a trailer. And I want to also, again, point out, once it gets reinforced, them saying, born from the same spirit of curiosity and creativity that has always defined Quantic Dream, here's Spellcasters Chronicles. Okay. It says, cast, fly, fight, cooperate in intense 3v3 action strategy battles, summon hundreds of creatures, cast devastating spells, and call upon the might of titans to arise as the most powerful member of the community of spellcasters and shape the fate of the world together. They say you can register for closed beta now. So obviously this isn't a game geared towards like me at all. I'm curious how anyone out there right now, because this seems to be like a 3v3 hero shooter kind of game. Does this look, if you're really into this, does this look appealing to you? Because when I'm looking at it, it looks like all the other ones that I've already seen, like it blends in. Maybe there is some big gameplay aspect that I'm not seeing, or if I played the game, I'd go, okay, yeah, obviously that's different. It sets it apart. They're still working on Star Wars clips. They've already told us that. but what do they do? What is this? What is this? Like, that's the best way I can really put it at this, but I don't get it. And I know the live service thing is drawing a lot of attention because it makes a lot of money if you get it right. But man, how many of these things do we see get it wrong and then fail, or even at times get it right, but then also fail? So it just seems strange that this is what Quantic Dream wanted to do, as opposed to Star Wars Eclipse got announced in 2021, and we're still waiting to see more about it. The only reports we've ever heard are just things that are going poorly behind the scenes, it seems like, and then they show up with this 3v3 fantasy hero competitive multiplayer shooter. I don't know. It blends in. It's not really something I'm looking for much right now. I feel like I've had enough of these kind of games. Just very odd. Quantic Dream showing up one day. Hey, competitive multiplayer. They're bought by NetEase in 2022. And then it looks like a game that, frankly, it was just made by NetEase. In our last bit of news, let's talk about Microsoft, as they put out their own press release, their news post around the ROG Xbox Ally handhelds that just came out this week. And in there, they did mention very briefly maybe their measurement of success for the Xbox brand. And I think it does make sense for Windows specifically, but take a look. They say, developed in partnership with Asus and AMD, these handhelds put the Xbox experience and the freedom of Windows in your hands so you can play your way wherever you go. At Xbox, we define success by how much time players choose to spend with us, and the Xbox Ally handhelds are designed to make that time more seamless, flexible, and fun than ever before. Again, define success by how much time players choose to spend with us, and that shouldn't be a surprise, even though it was kind of tucked away in this news post. The way that Microsoft keeps talking about their Windows, their Xbox division, it all comes down to monthly active users. And that's always been the idea of Game Pass, is if we just keep enough people engaged with our ecosystem, there's a better chance that they might sign up for Game Pass because they're in the ecosystem so often. The thing that we keep really going over is there's limited time outright. So a person could spend time in the ecosystem, but not enough time to be like, oh yeah, it makes sense to spend $30 a month and take advantage of 400 plus games in Game Pass. No, there is something at times to less is more, because right now I'm drowning in games currently, just trying to play as many as I can. And I'm almost done Ghost of Yotei, but then I was gonna play Pokemon Legends ZA, and I did pick up that Digimon game as well, and I'm doing Final Fantasy Tactics and Dying Light, and that's the thing. See, I'm just rattling off all these games, and even then, I feel overwhelmed. Now you throw in Game Pass with, Ninja Gaiden's coming up next week too, so Outer Worlds 2 coming up. I understand the idea of monthly active users being a big thing for Microsoft, the company. Just don't know how much it would necessarily benefit Xbox as much as, say, Windows, where it's a lot of data collection that goes on there, and they're working heavily to train a lot of their AI stuff, and that makes a ton of sense for them to collect data and train. Maybe just for Xbox when it comes to leisure time, and they can train AI using that. It's hard to say, but that is their strategy, and that's why in their mind it might make sense to have a more open system next generation where you can launch things like Steam, GOG, Epic Game Store. Even if you're not buying from Microsoft, well, you're still spending time at least in their ecosystem on one of their platforms. And before we go to the comment of the day, we'll take a look at the poll that I posted up yesterday, where I ask, should the next big Pokemon game for Generation 10 stick with turn-based battles? 73% say yes, 27% say no. And I've seen a lot of praise thrown at Pokemon Legends ZA specifically for the real-time battles, as in they feel more interesting and you're more involved in just the second-to-second action that's going on with your Pokemon running around and having all kinds of different abilities thrown here and there. And whereas with turn-based, you're just going through the menu. And turn-based has always been synonymous with, I don't want to say, you can't say even mainline anymore, because apparently these Legends ones are mainline, and the traditional generational release, I guess that's how you would frame it. The traditional Pokemon games always had that turn-based combat. And it doesn't seem like something they need to get away from, because the recent leaks around all the Pokemon stuff, it does appear that Generation 10 will still be turn-based, but based on Legends getting a lot of praise around that, it does make you wonder. Although, Legends seems to be turning into its own franchise or its own series, and maybe that is where the real-time combat or battles will live on, and we'll have the turn-based running alongside of the real-time, and maybe that's the way that the Pokemon Company can judge which one becomes more popular in the long run. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day, as you're seeing here. This is from Kevin, who says, I hate that we still call it microtransactions when there's nothing micro about them anymore. Yeah, back before not even recently, but when the skins started to show up in these free-to-play games and they were $20 or $30, I saw Skate get that Dead Space package or the skins and stuff, and it's $35? That's a lot of money for what's really just apparel in the game, right? Just appearance settings for the most part. And for a while it was, these microtransactions really are micro. They're $1 or $2, maybe $5 at the most. The idea being you just keep throwing money at it in tiny increments and the person doesn't realize how much money they've thrown in. But now I think there's enough data to show that there are quote unquote whales, and it's a small percentage, but the amount of money they put into the game is enough to cover for a ton of free-to-play players, as in they don't really ever spend money. So why not introduce stuff that's just, the same price as like indie games at times? And look, you can also buy mass amounts of gold coins or whatever in some of these games, and it's $100+ and somebody's buying it. So yeah, we talk about the $70 or $80 games, and we're like, I can't believe we have these games at these prices. And then somewhere out there's somebody spending $100 on a bundle of currency for their free-to-play game without even thinking about it. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about here today. If you missed yesterday's Newswave, I'll leave it up here on a card. Or maybe you want to see more about that Xbox Ally X handheld that came out recently, the $1,000 one. I did a full teardown on it to check out some of the insides and what Microsoft didn't necessarily tell you about it, and I'll leave that in a video right below it. Thanks guys for watching. Have a great weekend. I'll see you back here Monday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time for Newswave.